This is bad. This is very, very bad.
Which is why I was incredibly confused to see tickets at the Target Center in Minnesota selling for as low as $10.
$40 million. That's how much the WNBA is set to lose this year, even after Caitlin Clark's record-breaking season. But wait, it gets worse. Playoff tickets are now selling for less than the price of a movie ticket and popcorn. Yes, you heard that right. You can get inside a WNBA playoff game for as low as $10. The worst part? Despite this ticket train wreck, arena attendance is still at a major decline. I guess everyone is choosing the movie and popcorn. How is this possible? We're breaking down the numbers and they're not pretty. From sky-high ratings to bargain basement prices, the WNBA's post-Clark reality is a wake-up call for everyone who thought women's basketball had finally made it big. Want the full story? Before we break it down, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Are you ready? Let's go.
It almost felt like the WNBA wasn't ready for what Caitlin Clark was going to bring with her.
Remember when Caitlin Clark stepped onto the court and suddenly WNBA tickets were the talk of the town? Remember the days when opponents have to book bigger arenas whenever the Fever is playing? Those days are long gone, folks. We're talking about a time when you couldn't snag a ticket because it's been sold out for days. Now, you can grab a seat for less than the cost of a large pizza. During Clark's regular season games, arenas were packed to the rafters. Fans were practically standing room only to get a glimpse of her in action. The energy was electric, the atmosphere was buzzing, and you could feel the excitement in the air. It was like every game was a rock concert. People who'd never watched a WNBA game in their lives were suddenly die-hard fans, all because of one player.
Well, I knew the atmosphere was going to be electric when they announced Caitlin's name in the dark and the fans went crazy.
Fast forward to today, and it's like someone flipped a switch. We're looking at a completely different league. Tickets for WNBA playoff games, yes, playoff games, are going for as low as $10. That's less than you'd spend on a fast food meal. Heck, the cab ride to the arena probably costs more than the ticket itself. And the irony? Even at these rock-bottom prices, the seats are still empty. The contrast is stark. Where once you saw a sea of faces, now you see a sea of empty seats. The roar of the crowd has been replaced by the echo of squeaking sneakers on hardwood. It's like going from a sold-out concert to an open mic night at your local coffee shop. The energy, the excitement, the magic, it's all gone. Or as some would say, the WNBA just went back to the days prior to Caitlin Clark.
To yourself, damn, what is going on here?
Let's talk numbers for a second. During Clark's games, ticket prices were soaring. We're talking about seats going for over $4,000 at the high end, with average tickets around $300. Now, you can walk up to the ticket booth with a $10 bill and get change back. We're seeing a drop of over 95% in some cases. It's not just a dip, it's a nosedive. And attendance? It's following the same downward spiral. Arenas that were once at capacity are now lucky to be half full. We're seeing thousands of empty seats at every game. It's like the league hit the reset button and went back to square one.
Staying with the WNBA playoffs, let's stay here. Let's just say the ratings aren't the same with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. By the way, not only was viewership down, but attendance was as well.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely this can't be that bad for the league's bottom line, right? Wrong. The financial impact is nothing short of catastrophic. We're talking about millions in lost revenue. And that's not even counting the ripple effects on merchandise sales, concessions, and sponsorships. The estimated revenue loss from Clark's absence in the playoffs? It's in the tens of millions. That's money the WNBA desperately needs, especially considering they were already projecting a $40 million loss for the year. Clark wasn't just a player, she was a one-woman economic stimulus package for the league. And now that she's gone, the WNBA is feeling the pain in its wallet. If you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. We know watching this video takes some of your time, and we appreciate you. Now back to the action.
Caitlin Clark is clearly a catalyst for a business that was, and let's be honest, Caitlin to some degree financially saved the WNBA. It was hemorrhaging money for years.
While the league's wallet is hurting, its TV ratings are on life support. You'd think playoff games would be must-see TV, right? Think again. The viewership drop we're witnessing isn't just steep, it's a cliff dive. Let's talk numbers because they tell a story that's more dramatic than any buzzer beater. During Caitlin Clark's games, the WNBA was pulling in 2.5 million viewers. That's not just good, that's break out the champagne territory for a league that's usually happy to crack a million. Clark wasn't just playing basketball, she was putting on a show that had people glued to their screens. The Fever were creating symphonies on the court. Remember this play? This was a taste of the nightly show and Fever games.
Clark
Clark comes down. There's one of those long passes. Oh, little French pastry from Chelsea.
But now, it's like someone changed the channel and forgot to tell the viewers to come back. The current WNBA playoffs are barely scraping 900,000 viewers. Compared to Clark's last playoff game that reached a peak of 3.4 million, that's a nosedive of over 75%. We're talking about playoff games here, not some random Tuesday night matchup in the middle of the season. These are supposed to be the games that everyone tunes in for, the ones that decide the champion. And it gets worse. ESPN, the network that's supposed to be the WNBA's biggest cheerleader, is treating these games like they're the plague. They've shoved some playoff games onto ESPN2, which is basically the TV equivalent of being sent to sit at the kids' table during Thanksgiving dinner. Meanwhile, they're giving prime real estate on the main ESPN channel to, wait for it, NHL opening night. That's right. Hockey is getting better treatment than the WNBA playoffs. I mean, there's nothing wrong with hockey, but if Caitlin Clark was still playing, this wouldn't even be a thought. The long-term impact of this ratings freefall is like watching a slow-motion train wreck. We're talking about potential changes to media deals that could make the current $40 million loss look like pocket change. Sponsors aren't exactly lining up to throw money at a league that can't keep eyeballs on screens. And let's not even get started on what this means for player salaries and team budgets.
They cannot have this Caitlin Clark thing up any worse if they tried. This girl is incredible. The number of attention, eyeballs she's brought to college and the pros.
As the league bleeds money and fans, a surprising group seems unfazed by it all. Who's turning a blind eye to the WNBA's financial nightmare? The very players who stand to lose the most. Their reaction to Caitlin Clark's exit might just leave you shaking your head. You'd think WNBA players would be sounding the alarm, but nope. Some of the league's biggest stars are out here acting like everything's just peachy. Take A'ja Wilson, for example. She's been downplaying Clark's impact like it's her job. "We've been here before Caitlin, and we'll be here after," she said. Really, Miss MVP? Because those empty seats and bargain bin ticket prices tell a different story.
And the thing I love about her, she never says a word. But these ladies, who I love and respect their game, they couldn't have this thing up any worse. There's been so much negativity, and a lot of it is just petty jealousness.
But Wilson's not alone in this alternate reality. Even the league commissioner has been singing the same tune, claiming the league's success doesn't hinge on one player. It's like they're living in a bubble where ticket sales and TV ratings don't exist. Meanwhile, fans are scratching their heads, wondering if the WNBA are watching the same league we are.
I noticed when you're asking about Caitlin a lot, you bring up other rookies as well.
No league's ever about one player. That player could get hurt or whatever. So I think it's just to give recognition that in sports, people watch for compelling content and rivalries. And you can't do that alone as one person.
Though the commissioner...
The disconnect from cold, hard numbers is mind-boggling. While they're busy downplaying Clark's exit, the league is hemorrhaging money and viewers. The cognitive dissonance is off the charts. Social media is having a field day with this. Fans are calling out players left and right, pointing to the stark contrast between packed arenas during Clark's games and the ghost towns we're seeing now. One tweet summed it up perfectly. WNBA players acting like losing Caitlin Clark in the playoffs is no big deal. Is like a restaurant saying they don't need customers to stay open. But here's where it gets really interesting. Despite the league's financial freefall, there are rumors swirling about players gearing up for a potential strike. That's right. In the face of plummeting revenues and fan interest, some players are talking about demanding higher salaries. It's like asking for a raise after burning down the office. The word on the street is that players might opt out of the current collective bargaining agreement by November 1st. If that happens, we could be looking at a full-blown labor dispute. Imagine the optics of millionaire athletes striking while their league is on life support. It's a PR nightmare waiting to happen.
WNBA players go on strike. If next season is canceled, it will be the end of the WNBA in the mainstream. People will not give this league another chance.
As the WNBA teeters on the edge, a shocking truth emerges. Remember that $40 million loss everyone's talking about? Turns out that might have been the good news. The real numbers paint a picture so bleak, it's making some wonder if we're witnessing the beginning of the end for women's pro basketball. Let's dive into the financial nightmare that's keeping WNBA executives up at night. The league's been hemorrhaging money for years. Here's the reality. The NBA owns a whopping 75% of the WNBA when you factor in individual team owners. You'd think that'd be a lifeline, right? Wrong. Those NBA bigwigs are getting real antsy about their investment. They're not seeing the returns they expected, and patience is wearing thin. It's like they bought a sports car that's spending more time in the shop than on the road. Now, let's talk sustainability. Financial experts are scratching their heads trying to figure out how this league stays afloat. The WNBA's been playing financial Jenga for years. Sure, they've got a shiny new media deal coming in 2026, but that's like planning your retirement around winning the lottery. It might look good on paper, but it doesn't pay the bills today. Compare this to other pro sports leagues, and it's not even in the same ballpark. The NBA? They're raking in billions. Even minor league baseball teams are turning a profit. Meanwhile, the WNBA's bleeding cash like it's going out of style.
This league is insane. And that's why I have mixed feelings. I'm going to miss Caitlin Clark. Hopefully I don't see her on the basketball court again until April, until next WNBA season. But I'm so glad I don't have to watch the rest of this. I've been so turned off by most of these players in the WNBA. It's incredible.
So, what's next? The league's talking about expanding the season and playoffs, but that's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Some insiders are whispering about major restructuring, while others are wondering if we're watching the slow-motion collapse of professional women's basketball. Let's be real, folks. The WNBA's future is hanging by a thread, and it's all because they can't seem to figure out how to keep their stars shining. Caitlin Clark showed us what this league could be. Exciting, profitable, and actually worth watching. But instead of building on that momentum, they're back to selling tickets for less than a cab to the arena. The big question now is, can the WNBA learn from this disaster? Or are we watching the slow death of professional women's basketball? Because let's face it, without star power and fan excitement, this league is about as appealing as a flat basketball. The clock's ticking, and the WNBA needs to make some serious changes if they want to stay in the game. Otherwise, they might as well start planning their own retirement party. What changes do you want to see? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.